This is our second discussion. My name is Jose, by the way. Okay, so chapter 4 discusses two types of leadership approaches, and they are transformational and charismatic, but I'm going to be focusing more on the transformational. Well, according to Hackman and Johnson, it wasn't until the late 70s that, the transformational approach emerged. Basically, this type of leadership is seen as more complex and strong, more potent. It aims to meet the followers' higher needs. When it comes to traditional leadership, it only targets basic human needs, and this approach wants to, you know, basically do everything on a more holistic way. And what I was reading basically says that, transformational leadership has five characteristics that define it. And these are being creative, being interactive, being a visionary, empowering, and passionate. In terms of being creative, the transformational leaders, they are innovative and foresighted. What they basically mean is that, they are always looking for new and creative ways to make improvements. And they are always trying to predict if anything goes wrong. So they're trying to be prepared. Also, transformational leaders are expert communicators, and they take the time to interact with their followers. They're able to articulate and define ideas and concepts that may, escape others. So in a way, they try to simplify it for them so it becomes more understandable. And this allows for a stronger group dynamic. Also, these leaders are visionaries, and they are able to successfully communicate their vision to their followers. This is perhaps one of the most important tasks of the transformational leader, because usually when they have a vision, it may be a little bit more difficult for them to, allow the followers to see the goal that they have in mind. So usually visions, they're desirable, attainable, so they are something that can be done. And when it comes to empowering, this is another characteristic that is very important, because this allows a transformational leader to get the best results. They use motivation, and they promote participation and involvement. So if the followers see that, they are being taken care of, this is going to motivate them to work harder, to try their very best. And this is going to, make a stronger organization. Also, when it comes to passion, without passion, a vision can't really become reality. So transformational leaders are very passionate about their work and their goals. And this passion and enthusiasm is contagious, allowing others to work their hardest, to try their best. So, they kind of get in the same mood as the leader. So, it allows for stronger work ethics, for, better work, better results. Has anybody worked with a leader, a boss, or anybody who has, had maybe this approach, or are they more traditional?
I haven't had really any great leaders, to be honest with you. So they're a little bit more traditional.
I've had, when I think of the visionary leadership, I really admire that, because to me, that's going beyond just working in your box and doing instead of just focusing on that's not my job, you're doing the right thing to help, to whether it's furthering customer service or whatever the industry might be that you're in. Building a vision sometimes means doing kind of invisible work, or something that's not part of your task or duties or something like that. So I've had leaders who have had the attitude of it's not our job, let's not do it, let's not get involved. And I've had the leaders who have said, this isn't our job, but let's help them anyway. Let's figure out a way to get them the answer and whatnot. So that's kind of what I think of as a visionary leader.
I would agree with Stacy, and I think I've had both as well. I mean, I think even currently I have some leaders that are much more traditional and some that are much more visionary. So obviously, I think that, when you have, especially when you are reporting to, or you're following more than one leader, you definitely tend to kind of steer towards the one that is more visionary and has that nicer approach.
Definitely, and I have to agree with you, Hillary, because right now, well, in my current job, I have a series of different bosses, you could say. I have my director, but there's also the superintendent and whatnot. And when it comes to being more traditional, I think those with the most power tend to be a little bit more traditional. They're a little bit more, they just want to get things done. So they don't really focus more on how the employee is feeling. And I think that, like, my director, she's my go-to person. So she's a little bit more empowering, you could say, because she's always trying to find a way to make us feel like appreciated. So she knows that, we're doing our best, we're working hard, and she always tries to make us see that she appreciates what we're doing. So that is even more of a motivation. And also, I think that the way, how she envisions the program that we're running, I think it's easy for her to allow us to see that. So we're all on the same boat.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. And she probably is good at delegating. If she's somewhat empowered. So the next one, we should probably move on for time.
Jose talked a lot about transformational, and I'm going to talk a little bit about charismatic leaders. So there's a lot of debate that transformational and charismatic leaders should be kind of the same theory because they're such similar in their characteristics and properties. Really strong power over their followers. Both are really great communicators, have similar weaknesses. Max Weber was actually the first one to kind of coin this term, charismatic. Charismatic leaders to me are definitely, they're like the best leaders you have. They're the ones you don't forget. They're the ones that sell you into their vision, their bigger picture. They have lasting impacts, and the textbook calls it out as political, social, or business leaders who have a very significant impact on others. Some examples would be like Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Walt Disney. All of those leaders are very charismatic, and I think the key thing there is that they're great communicators. They excel in communication, especially when it involves relationship building, impression management, visioning and influencing. And this is all once again in chapter 4. When I think of like charismatic leaders, I think of where I work for Starbucks. Our CEO, Howard Schultz, I see him as a fabulous communicator and a very charismatic leader. I personally haven't met him or worked with him in person, but he always does phenomenal speeches. He inspires all of me and all of our coworkers to kind of buy into this coffee vision that he has. So I would put him up there as a charismatic leader. Have any of you guys had experiences with charismatic leaders?
Not so much. I don't think I have, but I mean, I've had one coworker who had a higher position than I did, and I think that, she had a greater impact on me, I guess, than my actual boss, because she actually knew more about the program than the boss. So, she was very passionate about it. She had been, part of this program when she was in high school, so she later came back to work. And the way that I would see her wanting to help the community and the students, that rubbed off on me a lot.
Definitely. I think, transformational and charismatic leaders are very similar. But for me, I just think as a charismatic leader being the one who makes that big, huge impact on you, whether it's their passion or their leadership over others, they have more knowledge. It's what really like sinks in with you and sticks around with you.
I think the Starbucks CEO is a great example of a charismatic leader, because just for starters, the partnership that's established between Starbucks and ASU for people going back to school is a great vision. And, you know, I don't know a lot about him, but that speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah, he just really inspires everybody to buy into his vision, is that we can touch the lives of all of our customers with our coffee, which I think is fabulous, because what other businesses want to inspire and nurture the human spirit, which is our motto of the company, just over selling, you know, a $4 cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So I think he's a very charismatic leader in that aspect.
Well, and I think that he's a great example because look at how much he's done with that company, right? So,
Yeah.
Which actually kind of goes into my topic, which is going to be from chapter 5, and that's empowering. So being a leader who empowers people, unless anybody else has anything else for Allie's topic. So this is something that definitely interests me. I think that obviously wanting to empower your employees, empower your followers is something that's going to, you know, make everybody's job a lot easier. And so I kind of went through and first did, you know, the benefits of empowering people, and then kind of how to go about doing it. So leaders actually gain more power by empowering others. And then there's quite a few reasons why leaders would want to empower their followers. It would increase employee satisfaction. So I think that definitely when you know, people take ownership of positions, they're going to feel like they're doing a good job, and they're going to take ownership over it. And fosters greater cooperation. So when you're working together, when everybody's working towards a goal rather than just showing up for work, I think that you're going to get better cooperation. People are going to work better as a team. And then collective survival. So this was one that I didn't actually really consider before I did the reading this week. But, you know, you're able to make changes really quickly when you're fostering innovation. So you're much more building a team, and that team survives together rather than just people their own. And then personal growth and learning. When you're, you know, putting more on the empowerment side of it, you definitely get a lot more growth from learning from your other team members, even other leaders. And then it prevents power abuse too. So you're not just, you know, everybody's not listening to one dictator. And there is a quote in the book, there's no limit to what you can do if you don't care who gets the credit for it. And I think that that's really key, because I think that, you know, when there's not one person that's trying to get all of the credit for a project, that everybody's working to try to get it done together. And then on the empowerment process, just how to make it happen. The first thing was modifying the environment. So to create a flat organization is a concept where there isn't necessarily the traditional hierarchy like we mostly see in businesses right now. So rather than having, you know, top executives and middle management and lower management, really bringing that more to a flat level, giving everybody else, you know, responsibilities rather than making one person in charge of everybody else. Building motivation, which is through that empowerment step, of course, and then supplying the resources for you to actually be able to make it happen. So I was thinking about this because currently I have one of my managers who also manages a team. They are having a really hard time making decisions. So they call me literally from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. And I'm trying to figure out a way to better empower her. So this was actually a really good section for me to read, to try to give her those resources, make it so that she feels like she can make the decisions to where she doesn't need to call me for anything. So hopefully with some of the tools that we learned this week, I'll be able to implement that and not get quite so many phone calls. Have you guys had any experience on either side of it?
I'm dealing with a similar situation as you, Hillary, where some of my coworkers call me or need my help on every little detail because I've been with the company a lot longer. So reading that empowerment chapter hopefully makes some new tools at my job as well, so they'll feel a little bit more empowered and feel a little bit more comfortable making decisions without having to ask everybody.
Mm-hmm. I've had a coworker who she had some anxiety issues, and she would literally freak out about anything a manager was doing. If a door was closed, if an extra manager walked by, the director walked in, she would always freak out about everything. So I would try and use empowering skills to get her through the day sometimes and not freak out so much. So that was more on a coworker to coworker basis. But
Yeah, I think it's definitely useful at all levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And with me, I also have a coworker who's in a way similar. He always calls or is always checking that he's, doing everything correctly. It's gotten to the point where, my boss is questioning his ability to do his job because for every little thing, either he emails her, text messages her, or is always asking me. And I think they've noticed this before. So, you know, giving him a few tips about, self-empowerment, I think that would
Mm-hmm.
really benefit him. So, these chapters were really great.
Yeah, I agree. So if you guys don't have anything else, I'll go on to my next topic, which is
Sounds good.
Good. It's I'm going to talk about developing an argumentative competence, and this one kind of hit close to me because I have had a situation this week with my manager, and I instantly wanted to kind of argue my point with her. I don't like to think of myself as an argumentative person, but I kind of am. And it's not because I want to argue or I disagree with you. It's just that I kind of always think my point is better. And I recognize these things about myself. And I don't know if you guys have had the chance to take the self-assessment quiz kind of thing in our book yet, but I was kind of surprised to find that I didn't rank as high as what I could have ranked. I actually ranked as moderate. But nonetheless, there's definitely still some things that I read through the chapters that I wanted to point out. So being an argumentative person is inevitable when you're in the role of a leadership. It's really important at every level. And argumentative individuals are actually most likely to become leaders. And that was a little soothing to hear. It typically always involves some sort of controversy, and it needs to have extended discussion. I don't know if you guys have ever been in an argument where, at least in your professional career, where it's just been one conversation and it's said and done. It needs to typically be followed up with. And most importantly, talking about my specific example, my manager, long story short, she wants to change my schedule, and I don't agree with her. But before I just present that I don't agree, that's not fair, this is part of my negotiation, all these kind of things that pop up into my head, right? These are the things that I just want to start spilling out at her. I need to present my case. I need to rely on reason and evidence. I need to support this. She's a brand new manager. She's brand new to our team. She doesn't understand all the aspects that I know, so I really need to present my case to her and use this argumentative fashion in a supportive way instead of just having an argument with her. So the same as power, the same as what we learned about power and how it can be perceived as evil, but yet it's necessary. Arguing is the same thing in the form of leadership. So recognizing the difference between an argument and aggression is the first step to building an argumentative competence. So what that means is that when you're having an argument, try to avoid aggressive behaviors such as character attacks, insults, teasing, ridiculing, profanity. That's kind of hard, easier said than done, right? Threats, physical appearance attacks, all those kind of things. They seem like common sense, but in the moment, if you don't pay attention to your body, your palms might start to get sweaty, your heart might begin racing, all these kind of things can begin to take over. So it's really, really good to be prepared into an argument and present your case and have the vision in mind. Make sure to have the vision in mind because that's what the manager and the leader is going to be most concerned with. So do you guys happen to have any personal, how do you guys perceive your argumentative behaviors to be like?
Well, for me, I mean, I think that I do argue, but and I know my coworkers see this because sometimes, I have to stick up for myself or for what I'm doing. And I don't do it in a way that's disrespectful, but, obviously, if there's things that aren't right, I'm going to speak out. And I know that couple of coworkers who are no longer there. When I started to work there, I saw that they were a little too soft when it came to certain things. So if there was ever any trouble or anything that we had to discuss with the boss or with somebody else, they would rather I go speak to them because they did not know how to argue their way into getting something or argue their way out of getting something. And it's not, I guess they saw it as disrespecting them, but I didn't.
Mhm.
It was a cultural thing, I guess. But the way I saw it is, okay, we were hired for a reason, and if we're not doing this job correctly, or if we can't do the job because they're not providing us the support that we need, we have to talk about it. We have to voice our opinion, and we have to not demand per se, but we have to let them know that we need certain things. And I'm always one to do that.
Especially
And
without supporting their vision, right?
exactly. And I'm one to do that. I am really outspoken. I guess that's a trait that I have, but I always tend to do it in a way that, I'm not going to be offending somebody, and I'm not going to sound threatening, because that's just going to cause more issues and it's not going to solve the problem at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, if you don't say anything at all, it's going to build up, right? And even the most patient person is eventually going to get burnt out if they're constantly, being upset by things or bothered by things, or, things aren't being ran the way that they feel comfortable in their position. But I'm like Stacy too. I take time and think about my argument before I go into it. So I'll kind of like think through it, think about it from their perspective, so that I can have the strongest argument when I do approach that person, especially on like a situation where it comes to scheduling or, a big change like that. So I'm definitely similar.
Definitely,
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty
agree. I
similar to all
mean,
of you guys. Go ahead, Jose.
I think that before, jumping into an argument, we do have to know what we're going to back it up with, because otherwise it's just going to make us, look bad. So, I do argue, but I tend to always think about what I'm going to say before I actually say it, because I don't want to get fired or in trouble.
Right. Got to prepare yourself for the rebuttals. What are they going to say back? And how are you going to keep it in their best interest? So I think that's about it. We're done on time. And if you guys are good and have anything else to say, I'm good.
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're good.